Hello! It's National Library Week here at the Lisbon Hepburn Library. My name is Michelle McClellan and I am the director of the library here in Lisbon. And today I want to show you behind the scenes what happens to get a new book like this onto the shelf so that you can borrow it, take it home, and read it. So last Thursday, we did an unboxing video where I showed you all of the new books that were arriving, and most of what you saw in that video are right here on my desk today. So what I do after I take them out of the box is I sort them by the kind of effort that goes into processing that particular item. So what I've done is I have taken books of this particular size, and let me compare that to this bigger one. So you can see if I line them up that this Warriors book is a little bit shorter. It's about an inch shorter than this Jeffrey Archer book. So I will put them in different size piles because the materials that I use to put a protective jacket over the books are different sizes. One is a 9-inch and one is a 10-inch. So I make two piles for those. The pile I have over here on the right has large picture books at the bottom. And then it has some books that they're hardcover, but they don't have a dust jacket on them. So those require a different kind of processing because we don't cover them. And then from here up to the top of the pile are books that are soft cover. So they're paperbacks. And if we don't cover them, they'll get a little dog-eared on the corner, and it's better that we put some kind of protective coating on those books. So those will be the piles that I start with. And then what I have supply-wise here is I have these jacket covers, and these are shiny plastic on one side. They're paper on the other side. And this is what you see on most of the hardcover books in the library. So they come in two different pre-cut sizes. This one is 9 inches tall for our smaller books that are over here. I also have some that look exactly the same, but this particular pile, they're 10 inches tall. So they're just a little bit taller up here. And those are the ones that I will use for this larger size book that I've got in the middle. Then I also have this box, which it's quite unwieldy. It's heavy and it's awkward. It has a roll of the same exact covering material, but it's a roll that fits books up to 12 inches high, which is most of the picture books. So a lot of picture books are taller. They require this kind of cover. We purchase them on rolls so that we can cut them to the exact length that we need for the book. So we have those. Then in front of me here, I also have something extremely important, which is the pile of invoices that came in the shipping box. And the reason that the invoices are important to us is because we receive books oftentimes before publication, but we are not allowed to put those books on the shelf and share them with patrons until publication date. And that's the same as if you were to buy them from a bookstore or any other place. You can pre-order them, but they will not ship them for arrival to your home. You can't go in the store and actually purchase them and put them into your shopping cart and go to the cash register until publication date. So you'll see here, I've got titles down the middle, and then over here on this one, it will say things like on shelf 4/6/21. So those are available this Tuesday. And then other ones like these up here will say 4/13. I get those. I still have to hold them for a full week. So I have my invoices. Those are important. Down here, you'll see that I've got basically they're spine labels. They come on sheets 8.5 by 11. I use Microsoft Office. I create these just by typing them in. So you can see if you look really closely, this is the one for the Jeffrey Archer book. It is a sticker that is this big and it goes on the spine. and I will type up as many of those as I'm aware of that I need so that I can print them out on one sheet. But if I don't use a whole sheet, and you can see down here, I have some empty ones that I've already used before. If you're local to Lisbon, you'll see I've got some frog stickers printed, and I have some other labels that help us categorize things. So I've got those kind of labels. For our children's books, for our picture books, we use a larger size label that is considerably bigger. It is this big, and that goes on the spines of our picture books and our juvenile nonfiction. So you'll see Dewey Decimal Wise, I've got some of those prepared. We also put in the inside of the book a sticker that says the month that we purchased the book. So you'll see here it has the library name, Lisbon Hepburn Library, and it will say April 2021. So I have a couple sheets of those that I have prepared. I also have a sheet of little round stickers. We purchased these in different colors. So this particular month, it is going to be the reddish color as compared to blue or green. And we have a lighter orange shade. And I will write the month purchase, just a number, it will say 4 on it. And that'll go on the back of the book, and I will show you that later. We also, over here, have several different sizes of spine label protectors. So for some of the books, particularly the ones that I pointed out over here, that are hardcover but don't have a plastic dust jacket and won't be getting one of those Mylar covers, we will use a spine label protector. So I buy those in a package. They come on these square sheets. This is a larger size, so there are only 4 of them on the sheet. You can see here how big it is. I might use those. I have these smaller ones that also come on a sheet, but these are much smaller, if you can see that particular size. And again, it depends on what size I need. I also have some in a roll, and these are long and thin. So you can see in comparison that they are skinny, but they are much longer. And again, that would be used depending on what size best fits the book. Here I have a roll of spine labels. So these labels say Hepburn Library of Lisbon. They have a barcode that we can use to scan when you're borrowing the book or when you're returning the book. And then it also has a number sequence at the bottom. And this particular, our labels all start with 01144. The 44 indicates that we were the 44th library in the North Country Library System to automate. And that was back in 2012. And honestly, that's a piece of trivia that I just gained from a fellow library director last week. So thank you, Dennis, for pointing out that there was actually some kind of logical sequence to the numbers. I also have a roll of regular old Scotch tape. It is the shiny kind, so it's not the magic tape, but it is regular Scotch transparent tape. Other libraries sometimes use tape with like a filament in it. We find that with the number of books that we circulate, that this is adequate for us, and it's considerably more cost effective. So I will use this. I have a black Sharpie, and that black Sharpie is what I use to write on these stickers. So it's something with enough of a point to it that it can be easily seen. It catches my eye when I'm going to shelve items. And I have 2 more things here for supplies. I have a pair of pretty decent, pretty sharp scissors that I only use for covering books. So it's only used to cut the materials used for the book. So I don't actually use these to cut regular paper or to do crafts or anything. So I'll have a pair of scissors. And the last thing that I have is this thing. It is wood. It's a couple of laminated, there we go, it's focused a little better now, laminated layers of wood. It's got a little bit of a curve, so I can grip it like this. And this other edge is felt. So you can see where it's glued on as a piece of felt. There we go. I believe it's better focused now. And this is what I use to cover the paperbacks. So what I'm going to do next is clean up my workspace here, get some of this stuff out of the way, readjust the angle on the camera so it's looking down at my work surface, and then I'll cover a book with you. So give me a moment and I'll be right back. All right, so we're back. And I've cleaned up my workspace and just left behind the supplies that I need for right now. So what I've done is I have pulled out a book that is published on April 6th, 2 books actually, 1 hardcover and 1 paperback. So we will cover those together in the video and you can see what it is that I do. I've also double checked my invoice to confirm that both of these items are available on 4/6, so that I'm covering those before I cover the ones for 4/13. So I can put my invoice aside now. So the first thing that I am going to do is grab one of these stickers that says April 2021. I'm going to open up my book and I'm going to go to the cover page and down in the corner, and this is just how we do it on Lisbon. This is not necessarily how it's done everywhere. I am going to put the sticker. So this will identify the inside of the book, that it belongs to Lisbon Hepburn Library, and we purchased and put it on the shelf in April 2021. And the reason the date is important is it lets us know when something should be on the new bookshelf and when it is no longer really a new book anymore. And when it's time for us to discard books that are older, that aren't circulating, it's another clue for us when we just pick up a book that something is particularly old or it's not really very old yet and maybe we still want to keep it. Unfortunately, we do eventually run out of space on the shelves. So here's my hardcover book. I'm going to remove the paper jacket. So this is the book underneath, okay? I will put that aside. I will then find a sticker that corresponds to the call number we're going to put on this book. So this book it's an adult fiction book. It is written by David Rosenfeld. So I'm looking for a sticker that says FIC for fiction, and that would be adult fiction as compared to the J's, which would be juvenile. And I'm looking for one that has the first 4 letters, and we call that a cutter. So the first 4 letters of ROSE to correspond to David Rosenfeld's last name. So I will take the sticker, and in Lisbon, we line that up pretty close to the bottom of the spine. So you should be able to see that. And I will sort of flatten it, okay? The way these covers work, and I don't know if you can see it really clearly, but it's paper and a Mylar. So I will put the Mylar down, the paper side up, slide my book jacket in between the 2 layers, push it down in. I want it to line up right at the bottom, okay? So that usually requires a little bit of fiddling. And I also want to make sure that it is centered left to right. So, you know, there may be a little bit of extra paper here, or there may be on the other side. So I want it to be centered. And again, push down nice and snug. What I'm going to do here, there's some perforated lines to give us a straight edge to fold on. So I'm going to find the one that is a little bit shorter than the height of the book and use that perforated line just to fold that paper down on the inside. If it was a little bit shorter book, there are other perforated lines there. We purchase the kind of covers that have a little removable tab here that protects a little sticky spot. So I will peel off this removable liner and that will go over there. Then once again, making sure that everything is nice and snug, I will take the clear plastic Mylar and fold it up right in the center so that it is lined up, and push that tab down. So this holds it in place, which then allows me, and I will admit I have fingernails, I use them for this, but I can make a nice sharp crease here. And once I've done that, I will take a piece of my Scotch tape about that big and put it right about the same spot where the book jacket would curve into the book. So that holds everything down along with the one in the middle. And then I'll come to this side and I'll do the same thing. Now, I think over here in my mug with all of my pencils, I do have a bone folder. So for those without fingernails, they often will use a bone folder. I just happen to find that my fingers do just as good of a job. So another piece of Scotch tape is going to go right here to hold everything down. And then I'm going to look and make sure that I have everything centered, that it looks good. Obviously, shiny side out. Flip it over. I always want to make sure when I'm doing it that the top of the book goes away from me, because then I'm going to come back with the book and I'm going to double check and make sure that the top of the book is also away from me. In other words, it's going to match up to the jacket and it's not going to be upside down, okay? I'll take that, put it right in the middle, open the book, tip this over, find kind of the natural fold that already existed from the book jacket, smooth it down. Make sure as I'm doing this that I've got all the pages this way before I tuck this side in, and I'm not going to capture any of the pages of the book. Line it up so that from top to bottom, the book jacket is not hanging off one side or the other, because that is pretty annoying if you're reading. And then back to the tape. So I'll take a piece of tape. I always start with the back of the book, and that is just me and how I do it. So once again, I'm going to make sure that it's nice and snug up along this edge, nice and straight coming down through here. And then I put my tape on so that it spans the inside of the jacket on the back of the book. And then I fold it. And if you look carefully, you'll see I'm not folding it to the outside. I'm folding it and sliding it in and tucking it in so it's attached to the book and not to the book jacket. Then I'll take the other side and I will do the same thing. Now, some libraries will use a different kind of tape. Some libraries will actually glue this flap down, but we don't do that. Then I'm just going to, as I'm flipping the book over, make sure it's all nice and tight and snug, and do 2 more pieces of my Scotch tape on the front cover of the book. And that is it. A book has been covered. It's been labeled that it belongs to the library. It has a spine label that tells us where to shelve it. It has a plastic cover to protect it. And the next step that I have is to take my barcode labels, peel off one. Our barcodes in Lisbon go up here. So they go on the back side of the book in the upper right-hand corner. So I try and line that up nice and straight. The reason that we put them here, and this was our decision, was that when we do inventory and we go with a mobile handheld scanner, we can just tip the book off the edge of the shelf and basically zap it and it'll beep and the book would be inventoried. You'll see that some libraries put them here in the back cover. Some libraries have opted to put them here, and a few libraries will put them on the front, but this has worked well for us, so we're very consistent with that. The last step that I have for labeling the book is to take the little orange stickers that I'm using, reddish orange, and I will put a number 4 for April on this sticker, and it is a removable sticker, and I will, believe it or not, overlap it ever so slightly with the barcode, and that just makes it a little easier to remove. So when this book is returned, I don't have to look at the date on the inside. I don't have to have any notations in the catalog. I see this sticker and I immediately know that it is a new book that we received in April, and it'll stay on the new bookshelf for at least 2 months, possibly 3 months. It depends on how many books we have and how popular the title is and everything else. And then when it's time to change it and pull it off of the new bookshelf, I have a little scraper blade that just scrapes this off with no problem. So that's what we do with a hardcover book. So I'm going to put that aside. And then quickly we're going to do a paperback book, and I will show you how that goes. So this is a paperback. I want to make sure that the cover is protected, particularly because this is a children's book and sometimes they are quite popular and do get circulated at the library quite often. So I do not need the Scotch tape anymore. But what I do need, and I didn't have this at the beginning, I apologize that it wasn't part of my original supplies, but we use this, it's ours is called Vistafoil. I'm probably not supposed to use the brand names here, but it is a laminate kind of material, and I actually have 4 different sizes. So right in front of me now, I have 2 sizes. I have the short one, and this one is really good for some of the super skinny, small, early chapter book reading items that we have, and it's a smaller size. This is the size I'm going to use on this particular book. This works on thicker books like this one. It works on adult books for the most part, works on most of the graphic novels. I do have 2 other sizes. This one is, I believe, a 14-inch, and then I think I have an 18 and I have a 24. So every once in a while, we'll have a book that's really quite large, and it does require the larger size. So what I do here is roll this out, take my book, I put my book this direction, okay? And the reason that I do that instead of putting it this way is because the stuff that we purchase has what's called a center slit. So I can peel back this piece in the middle, and I'll show you how that works. But I want to make sure that if I were to put my book here, that I have enough space to tuck this into the book and be able to do it on the other side. So I, again, like a lot of things with regards to processing, practice, I don't want to say it makes perfect, but practice gives me the skill to usually be able to eyeball things and know what's going to work. So I want a little bit of space. It gives us some grids. So usually 1 square on this side and a square and a half or whatever on this side. It really depends. I mean, I'm not obligated to cut on the squares, so I'm just going to cut with my scissors straight down between those 2 squares. Put aside this roll. Then I'm going to come back and grab my sticker that says April. And that's going to go inside, just like it did in the other book that we did. And come back here, and this is a juvenile book, so it needs to start with a J, and I'm looking for one that has the last name Hunter, so 4 letters there, and that would be one of these stickers. So J Hunt is how we label that. And in our library, we put them down towards the bottom, and they actually go sideways in the children's room because so many of the books are very, very thin, and we want to be able to read it. If we did it the other way like we do on the adult books, it would wrap around the book and it would be a lot harder to read. So we started doing this in probably 2010, and we've kept with that system. So now that is done, we don't need one of those plastic protectors that I had pointed out before, because this jacket is going to protect that spine label from wear and tear. So peel off the center liner, and all I have to do to make that happen is just kind of crease it a little bit, and it peels right up. Then I take the book spine down and line it up centered from left to right and top to bottom in this exposed spot. So right about there, press it down. I'll tip the book back this way, and now is when I'm going to make use of this tool. So I will come along and I will rub, and you can hear little bubbles. If you've ever tried to put a screen protector on your phone or your iPad, and you put it down and you see those bubbles and you're trying to scrape them out with a credit card or something, that is essentially what I'm doing here, is trying to get out all of the air bubbles. So then I'll look at it and I'll make sure, and I tip it one way or the other, so that the light hits it and I can see that I have no air bubbles there. Back to my tool, and what I'm going to do is start rolling it over the edge so that it sticks, because it is sticky on this side. This paper keeps it from just all sticking down at once, and let me tell you, if I peel this paper off, I will probably make a mess of the entire project. So I leave that attached, but I make sure that it's loosened here. So as I take my tool and I rub and I burnish out all of those bubbles that could end up on the cover, you'll see I'm kind of peeling away the paper, but I can also just kind of push the paper off till I get to the other side of the front cover, make it nice and smooth, make sure that I don't have any bubbles. Then I will peel off the rest of the paper and put that aside. You'll see that the cover is larger than, or I should say the protective cover is larger than the book cover. This is where my scissors come back into play again, because I need scissors that are nice and sharp. They're going to cut through this. They're not going to tear. They're not going to make a mess of it. And I will make 4 cuts for the front cover. I'll make one at an angle, not all the way at the corner because I don't want to damage the book by trying to open it too far, but about that far. And I'm not going to cut the cover. I'm just cutting the plastic so you can see, I hope. I can't see the other side of my screen when I'm sitting down. You can see that there's a little flap here. Second cut I'm going to make is on the diagonal right at the edge of this point of the book. So I'm going to not cut the corner of the book, but do a little triangle. And you can see this is the piece that I was able to remove. Honestly, I stick that to my table until I'm done. Spin the book this way. I'm going to do another 45-degree cut right at the corner. So now I have a little flap here. Spin the book one more time and another 45-degree cut right about there. So now I have 2 flaps and a flap on the end. Now, flip the book over. I want to flatten it out, and then I'm going to try not to put fingerprints all over everything and roll it up so it's right at the edge of the book. And I use my thumbs. You can use the bone folder. Lots of people do. But I'm going to smooth it out along the edge first before I really go in and smooth down the rest of that piece. And then I'm right-handed, so I do the right-hand side next. Take that same flap, grab the edge of it, pull it nice and tight, and smooth it out with my fingers. And then I spin the book, usually just so it's facing me, so I can grab this one with my right hand because the side of the book's in the way. And I'll do the same thing. Come back, do the back half of the book. And sometimes I pull it up, like you'll just hear that little snap, because I want to make sure that I'm rolling it nice and tight over the edge. And make sure my paper's ready to roll off of it as I come along and smooth it out. And once that's smooth and I don't see any bubbles, this piece comes off and I go and make essentially the same 4 cuts that I had on the front cover of the book. And I want to make sure sometimes if the book is really skinny that I don't let go of the front cover and then it ends up sticking to the table and then it looks dirty when I peel it off. So fold this in, smooth it all down, smooth it down, smooth it down. Okay, we are wrinkle free now, but what we still have left are these little pieces that we had not yet trimmed off. And you can see, I've got my 45-degree angle there. And this is one reason why I want some good quality scissors. I want to be able to get in here and snip, fold, turn the book over, snip again, and then snip right around the edge. And Sometimes go back and trim that off again. And I want to do it as close to the book as possible because I don't want a piece sticking out over the edge and getting caught on things or getting dirty and then starting to peel back. So that is it. That is what it is like to cover a paperback book. And you'll see that the covering, it comes around the edge. It protects the corners. It protects it from wear and tear. And it'll do a pretty good job of lasting for a good long time like this. Just like we did with the hardcover book, it's going to get a barcode up here, and it is going to get a 4 for the month of April, and that is going to go up there as well. And that is what it takes to get the book covered. The next step that we have is to add it to the catalog, which requires me to go over to my computer, and I will join you there in just a moment. All right, I am back sitting in front of my computer. So what I have is the software program that we use for our catalog is up here on the screen. And if it's jiggling, I apologize. I should probably be recording this straight from my computer, but it's just a moment or two that I want to spend here with you. So what I have is Animal Instinct. That's the David Rosenfeld book that we covered that has a barcode on the back. And I am going to go into our catalog here to items, call number and item modification. I'll bring up that screen. And what I'm going to search for, and the easiest thing that I can do at this point is to use this number at the bottom. You'll see here that there is an ISBN number. If you were to purchase this in a store, this is what they would be scanning to ring it up at the cash register. But I can put in this number that starts with 978. I could use my barcode scanner, but I don't have one on this particular computer, so I'm just going to type it in. So I'm going to type in 978-1250-257-208 and hit enter. And it is going to bring it up in the catalog. So this item has already been entered into the catalog as a general item. And if you can look closely enough, you can see that Canton Library has purchased a copy. They have not barcoded theirs yet. It is listed as processing. And the Colton Library has already purchased one. They've entered their barcode number, and theirs is, quote, processing as well, which is what we use to designate a book that has not been published yet. So since it's already in the catalog, I go down to add call number. Library for the new call number is Lisbon because that's where we are. I am going to click on OK. And up here, you'll see that it is added in the Dewey Decimal number for fiction, which is 813.6. It shows Lisbon as our library. My default was set from the last time I was adding books to JFIC, so I'm going to change that. But I'm going to come over here to call number, and I am going to type in what is on my spine label. Okay, so that's going to be FIC for fiction, ROSE for Rosenfeld. The library is Lisbon. The item type is not juvenile fiction. I'm going to scroll up here. They're alphabetical, and I'm going to choose A for adult, FIC for fiction, NEWB for new book. I'm going to leave the location as processing for now. Once the book is published, then we will change it to, in our case, we will change it to Stax. But for now, it'll be processing. Over here, I'm going to change it from juvenile to adult. It has one piece. We would use multiple pieces for an audiobook on CD, or sometimes a DVD or Blu-ray has more than one disc in it, so that would change. And our default price for new books is $25, which it defaults to right here. And that's all that I have to type in other than the item ID. And the item ID is this number that we have on the barcode. So I am going to type in 0114400242185. Again, if I had a barcode scanner, that would already be done because I just would have dinged it and it would have beeped. I'm going to go down here to the bottom and click Save. And now our book is cataloged. publication date, I go in and I just change the location for the new books to stacks or to graphic novel or board books or wherever they're being shelved in the library. And that is all that goes into it. So we covered this book. We spine labeled it first. We covered it. We added it to the catalog, and it's going to be ready to go on the shelf now. Thank you so much for joining me today. Once again, my name is Michelle McLagan, and I am the director of the library here in Lisbon. And I'm so excited to show you some behind the scenes thing. And at any point, if anyone ever has any questions, feel free to reach out to me, and I'm happy to show you other things that we do behind the scenes. It just helps to let us all kind of share and know more about how the library is run. So thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you in our next video. Bye-bye.